Hello everybody, SlimKirby here, and I'm going on a long journey of trying to complete every single Game Boy Advance game in North America. This is the story of the highs, the lows, and all the silly stuff in between for the Game Boy Advance completion experience. This is GB Ace. Game number 4, Blades of Thunder. Okay, let's take a step away from licensed games and well-established franchises for a moment and take a look at something a bit more unique. Say hello to Blades of Thunder, released on February 1st, 2005, developed by Interactive Vision Games and published by Summit Soft Entertainment. When we first drew this game, nobody had any sort of idea of what this game was. There wasn't very much footage of it, there weren't really any wiki pages, some actually thought it was going to be an extreme sports rollerblading game or something, but no, it's just a standard helicopter shoot-'em-up game. And let me tell you, after my experience with Jungle Strike during one of the Super 16 marathons I participated in, I was not really thrilled to be playing another copter shooter this soon. Thankfully, though, I didn't experience the same amount of brutality here as I did with Jungle Strike. But what did I experience? Well, let's find out. The basic plot here is that there is a terrorist organization that exists called the Solar Martyrs, and their objective is, well, they're terrorists. They're trying to develop and use nuclear weapons against other countries of the world and cause international turmoil on the process in an effort to achieve their goals and demands. I'm sure this could be based off of something in real life, but again, information on this game was incredibly sparse, and aside from a few random references to specific real-world continents, it wasn't enough for me personally to make any exact connections. Although, I suppose if they did make any sort of connections to that degree, this game could have been seen as extremely controversial, so maybe it's for the best that they were as discreet as they were here. Anyway, we're part of the Worldwide Anti-Terrorist Coalition, the WATC for short, and our job is to put an end to these terrorist activities. So, let's get it done. As I said before, the game is a helicopter shoot-'em-up. You pilot a helicopter, you move around the area, and you shoot stuff. That's really about it. The game is also on rails, so you don't even have free range of your vehicle either. You're really just flying around and shooting stuff until the stage ends, you die, or fail a primary objective. Picture it like Star Fox, just a lot slower and with a lot less personality and fun. You have a few different ways to attack as well. You can press the A button to fire your primary weapon, one that never runs out of ammo no matter how many times you shoot, the R button to fire some more powerful missiles that do more damage but also do have ammo, and a lock-on multi-hit bomb attack, which is absolutely devastating when used properly, but has very limited ammo and depletes very quickly since it's, well, multi-hit as I explained. Funnily enough, I didn't even realize I had a maneuver like that until more than half of the game was already over with, and having that knowledge could have probably made this game go a lot faster, something this game probably needed, as I'll get into later. Also, before each level starts, you get a very lengthy and slow explanation or mission briefing about what exactly is going on in the game and what your general objectives are for each stage. I'm really not trying to generalize here, but the general message being pushed here for the plot is terrorists doing bad things, terrorists must be stopped. And it really doesn't stop feeling that way for pretty much the entire course of the game. I could go over each individual mission and general objective, but I really just don't see the point, as they all just kind of blend together anyway, and pretty much result in the same static, mundane, repetitious gameplay where you look for red dots on your radar and just start firing until all the red dots are gone. It's really that simple. But anyway, for each level you are given a main primary objective, or two, and sometimes some secondary objectives. Now, primary objectives you have to complete, because if you don't, you'll fail the mission and the terrorists will win. So we obviously don't want that to happen. Secondary objectives, though, are completely optional. You can complete them if you want, but nothing really changes much if you don't. Not even an ending change or even a bonus mission will result from these, so you can pretty much leave all of these alone and just focus on the primaries. I think really the only benefit of this is for high score purposes, which if that is your cup of tea, go nuts. But that is far from any sort of concern for me when it comes to this challenge. I'll try to complete what I can, but if I don't, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I should also mention that as per the rules of my challenge, I played this on the default normal difficulty level. What changes on easy or hard difficulties? I'm not really sure, but from research done by my chat, it seemed like it was just enemy health and accuracy, a staple quirk of games like this that have differing difficulty options. All that matters to me is the fact that the ending doesn't change, so off we go on normal mode. However, I'll be real with you, normal mode was still pretty easy. Most things got destroyed in just a few hits anyway, and staying alive seemed reasonable enough as long as you just paid attention to enemy fire and kept constantly moving. So yeah, no real sweat here. Off we go into Mission 1, where our primary objective is to recapture one of our airfields from the enemy, with some secondary objectives of destroying radar stations and rendezvousing with our tank units to do massive damage to the terrorists. And guess what? The first chance I got to blow up an enemy radar station, I didn't destroy it in time, meaning we already failed our first secondary objective. Although admittedly, I was still trying to get used to the controls and new gameplay, so I stand by the fact that it wasn't completely my fault. Plus, since the game is on rails and I didn't know how dangerous leaving enemy units and buildings alive would or would not be, I just didn't have that strong active initiative here. I did succeed at the other secondary objective though, as well as the primary, which was more than good enough to complete the stage. But damn, after looking at my timers after the fact, that first stage took 11 minutes to get through. This game is incredibly slow and the missions seriously go on forever, much longer than necessary. And to make matters worse, the game just does not look very good, and the sound quality is not that great either. The stage seriously played the same less than 10-second loop for the entire stage duration, and boy did it get old fast. The gameplay was pretty easy, which is probably the only thing I can give this game, but only in the context of me trying to beat every GBA game on the system. It gave me the assurance that the game would easily get completed, I just have to endure its length and slowness. The second mission went a lot better, I think, as the results said I didn't fail any secondary objectives this time, although I was a bit confused because I remember the stage introducing two secondaries, one eliminating an enemy spy and two defending the oil well. I definitely defended the oil well, but I don't think I actually saw any sort of notification about the spy. So I either just missed it and the mission wasn't accounted for, or it was just a weird mistake in the game's coding and there wasn't actually an objective here. Honestly, I wouldn't put that past this game. The primary objective was just destroying some enemy convoys, and you technically didn't even have to get rid of all of them either. Another 10+ minute mission done. Mission number 3 surprisingly gave me some trouble at the end, but even with that trouble, I still managed to avoid death. Our goal here was to eliminate the enemy HQ, and after about 8 minutes of flying into another boring wasteland, I was actually pleasantly surprised when my helicopter's acceleration picked up, and the music changed to something a little more upbeat and action-oriented. I then had to take out all the primary targets on screen, and let me tell you, looking back on this now, I wish I would have known that I had a multi-hit lock-on target weapon, because that would have sped this up tremendously. But no, I did this one target at a time, and it took forever. And since there were some targets that were retaliating and shooting back at me, I took quite a bit of damage here as well, and got pretty close to blowing up my chopper. I started playing really carefully though at this point, and still managed to pull through. But dang, was that a close call. And with that, we're on to mission number 4, and actually a change of scenery too, as we go from a desert landscape to more of an Arctic one. Does this radically change the gameplay here? No, not really. It's pretty much the same. The game did introduce a power-up star system, where if you collect the star icons on the map, your weapons will get stronger and stack up to 3 stars as well, which admittedly would have been nice earlier, but still, I wouldn't say the extra strength was noticeable, when in comparison to how easy everything has been up to this point regardless. Anyway, our primary goal is to recapture our WATC outpost, And our secondary is to eliminate another enemy spy, which I did actually get to this time. But to be fair, they actually acknowledged it with a radar icon this time, so no wonder. I also took my first death on this level too, but it wasn't even due to me getting obliterated by the enemy. I just got greedy with wanting to destroy all the enemy units and flew too close to the building or enemy I was trying to take down, exploding in the process. Now, what's the punishment for dying? Well, not much. You lose a life, you lose one of your star power-ups, and then you go back to the last checkpoint you activated. And let me tell you, each level has like 500 checkpoints, so you really won't lose a lot of progress here. Dang, this game really is brainlessly easy. Maybe not as much as Nicktoons Unite was, but still. Mission number 5 was actually a very simple mission, just one primary objective of protecting a village, and that's really about it. Although you did have to fly through about 7 minutes of more random shooting to even get there. But hey, nothing wrong with simplicity, I guess. This was also when I learned about my multi-target attack finally. Of course, after the game was pretty much halfway over already. But still, better late than never, I suppose. Mission number 6 was the last of the Arctic levels, and guess what? More of the same. Go figure. This time we had to destroy an enemy factory and then destroy some transport boats to make sure the enemy wouldn't completely escape. We achieved both of these primaries with no problem. There was also a secondary objective of destroying a bunch of transport trains as well. I think I actually missed one of them, but apparently it didn't matter for the objective as the game still gave me credit for it anyway. Geez, even when I'm slacking in this boring game, it's still telling me that I'm doing fine. Mission number 7 starts the green fields part of this game, so goodbye snowy areas. Anyway, the terrorists are really stepping up their game now. Even though we did our best to try and stop their operations, they still managed to get a warhead and are planning to use it on some unnamed European country. This cannot stand. I have friends over in Europe and I can't let them be affected by this terrorist nonsense. Our objectives are to finish off the remaining enemy transport boats, as well as take out an enemy warehouse, and destroy some more convoys as a secondary objective, if we want to anyway. Now, believe it or not, this was the first mission where I actually failed a primary objective. I just wasn't paying a close enough attention to the radar and missed one of the transport boats. However, I was shocked to find out that the punishment for failing a primary objective is just going back to the last checkpoint and losing a star power-up. I didn't even lose a life for this, however I had a max of 9 lives at this point anyway, so maybe I just had a life overflow or something. I really don't know for sure. For mission number 8, once again we only have primary objectives, but they are pretty important objectives, so let's do our best, okay? We need to defend a military hospital from being destroyed by the enemy, and after that we need to escort some medical units to another location to give first aid to the people there. So we're being very, very defensive in this mission. Does that change our approach? Not really. Just continue to blow up red units, make sure they don't blow up green units, and keep moving until the end. That painfully simple. Now, while we were defending those who needed our help, the terrorists once again seized another airfield and have secured a really powerful bomber aircraft. So now we have to go and put the kibosh on that, as well as take down a number of missile silos as well. So, welcome to mission number 9. This mission also has a secondary objective where we had to eliminate another enemy spy that is apparently hiding in one of our allied buildings. However, when an allied building appeared on screen, I was too scared to shoot it down because it appeared as a green square on my radar, and usually blowing up those buildings isn't good. However, I got the bad news a few seconds later that it was apparently what I had to do to complete this objective, so whoops. Oh well, at least these objectives are optional. Anyway, after making our way through the mission and destroying the silos, we find the stolen aircraft and need to take it down. There are a multitude of targets you have to shoot here, which makes the lock-on attack absolutely crucial. However, this thing takes a lot of hits, and even worse than that, if you don't take it down quickly, it will fly into the air above your range, and then you have to wait about 2 minutes before it descends again so you can continue shooting. Just the one thing you don't want playing more of this game. After continuing to put the hurt on, the aircraft goes down, and we complete another trio of stages. Yep, the game still continues, but do not worry, we are actually on the final stretch and final mission, because mission number 10, or mission number F, I guess, is the last stage of the game. We managed to get the location of the main terrorist base from info contained in the remnants of the bomber craft we destroyed. So we're finally taking the battle to our foes and eliminating them once and for all in their home base of Atlantis? Oh, okay then. Anyway, our goal here is just to completely destroy the enemy's main base of operations, and our last secondary objective is protecting 2 allied battleships, which, spoiler alert, I didn't succeed because for some reason, defending these boats is impossible. I seriously felt like I attacked the enemy immediately when they came in range, but the boats still went down very easily. Thank God these weren't required for game completion, because this probably would have been a wall, since it was likely RNG based. But yeah, the stage was actually pretty short, which is surprisingly considering how long and slow the rest of the game is, but you have 3 or 4 waves of buildings to take down for your final primary mission, so try to at least stay on your toes for that final push. Utilize those weapons well, especially the multi-target one, and you should have no problem here. I did take a death during this part, unfortunately, but thankfully it was only 1, and I still pretty much had max lives, so I wasn't gonna fail here. After the last few buildings go down, I finally watch in relief as the credits finally roll. Game complete. Wow, guys, I don't know what to say, except that this game was terrible. And trust me, I honestly don't mind the occasional on-rail shooter. Star Fox 64, definitely one of my favorite N64 games. This game, however, just took everything that makes a game like Star Fox 64 great and painfully removes all those aspects one by one until the game is basically a broken shell. It's slow, the missions are way too long, the gameplay isn't engaging, the presentation is poor, the OST is below average, and it absolutely doesn't even offer a challenge to those who may even be seeking that in the first place. This was a completely brain-dead experience playing this game, and was perhaps the longest 2.5 hours of my gaming life, and I am not joking when I say that. Honestly, the only redeeming quality I can state is that at least it was an easy clear. I can add another game to my complete backlog list, and we can move on to bigger and better games now. And that's really about it. Now, I did actually find out there is a sequel to Blades of Thunder, but it isn't actually on the Game Boy Advance, thank God, and is actually on the Nintendo DS. I'm not sure if this game actually fixes anything, but hey, I don't have to play it. It's not for this challenge. I am more than fine with moving on from this. But sorry to Mr. Shasta who's doing the DS challenge, because he'll have to play it though, and I wish him the best of luck, and I hope the game is a lot better than this was. I'm giving Blades of Thunder a 1 out of 5 for enjoyability, because yes, it was really that boring. And I'm also giving it a 1 out of 5 for difficulty as well. Despite having a life system, I only died twice in this playthrough, and one of them was by complete accident anyway. You should honestly have no problem beating this game, assuming you'd even want to subject yourself to that goal in the first place. Anyway, here's a sneak peek of the next game that we'll be playing for this challenge. Okay guys, thank you for watching this summary, I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave a comment and or like on the video, as those will really help me in these videos out. And stay tuned for future summaries of this series. If you also want to watch full playthroughs of these games for this challenge, check out the video description for a full playlist of everything that's been uploaded and exported so far. And if you're curious about what I'm playing right now for the challenge, be sure to stop by my Twitch channel to see what my current progress is. Just be warned, I'll be a lot further ahead of where we are for these summaries, so keep that in mind. This has been SlimKirby in the GBA series, and I'll talk to you fine people next time. Later, folks.